Shadowlands has quite a lot of stuff going on, and one of those things is going to be reputations. Now you are going to have the box standard reputations that you're already used to, where you'll do world quests, etc. to progress it, but there are going to be some more unusual reputations to grind as well. So in this video I wanted to run through one of those reputations called the Avowed. I'm going to run through how you'll unlock this reputation, what it gives, and also what you'll do to progress this grind, and it is a grind. This video is powered by Kingston and HyperX. Ensure you're ready for Shadowlands launch with their Fury DDR4 RGB RAM, or speed up your loading speeds with their KC2500 M.2 SSDs. Find out more in the link below. So first of all, we're going to talk about what the faction rewards and why it may potentially be worth your time. So at Honored, you're going to be able to pick up the recipe for Transmute Shadestone. This is an alchemy recipe and it will be used for making the new cauldrons, the flask cauldrons, and also making the new alchemy stone. The other thing that you can pick up at this rank will be the requisition orders, and this isn't going to mean too much to you right now, but it'll make more sense as we talk more into the video. So what this will do is it will cost 350 Sinstone shards, and it will give you a box for some more Sinstone shards every week. So it's going to cost 350, but it's only going to give you 200 per week. So it takes at least 2 weeks to even get a profit on your investment, and 200 isn't very much either, so hopefully we see a buff on this item in particular because it's just not very good right now. Next up we have Revered, and the first thing you're going to be able to purchase is a quill toy. You'll use this toy and you'll kind of have like a magic quill in front of you that will be writing things down. The next thing available at this rank, and this is going to be the big one, the main reason that most people will do this rep, that's going to be the Enchanted Elythium bar recipe for enchanters. What this bar is used for is the plate pieces for legendaries. So without these bars, you're not going to be able to craft any plate legendaries at all. So it's going to be quite important. And the weird thing is the other armor types aren't locked behind a reputation like this, at least one of these weird ones. So it's weird that they've done this in particular to plate, and we may see a change to this in the future, but if it isn't changed, then you will need to do this reputation grind, and some people who do this earlier may see themselves with some pretty nice profit. The next thing you'll be able to pick up at this rank will be a back transmog piece, and this is available to any covenant, so you're going to be able to pick up like a Venthyr style covenant piece, but without being a Venthyr. So it's pretty cool, definitely, adds a little bit more value into getting Revered as well. The final thing at this rank is going to be a Sinstone Fragment Acquisition book, and using this book will give you a chance of getting more Sinstone fragments, which are going to be quite important for the reputation grind. Once again, it will make more sense later on, but it wasn't working when I got this on the beta, so I couldn't actually see how big the proc chance was or how many you got when it actually procced. And then finally, for the crazy people who want to get themselves to Exalted, you'll get yourself the title, the Avowed. You'll also get a Arbiter toy, which I'm not too sure how that looks or what it does. You'll get yourself a Quill Pet, and then you'll also get yourself the BOA Fragment Acquisition book, so similar to the one from Revered, except this one will be bind on account, allowing you to send it to your alts if you want to do this grind again for whatever bizarre reason. And then finally as well, which may be the reason why you do this, is there'll be a Venthyr only mount available from this as well, which will be the Inquisition Gargon. So you'll need to get yourself to Exalted if you want to collect all the various different Gargon mounts. Now that we know what the rewards are from this faction, you can determine whether it's going to be worth your time or not. So the next step is going to be unlocking this faction. To get that done, if you're a Venthyr, you'll get the quest called Absolution of Souls from your Covenant Sanctum, and that'll take you over to the Absolution Crypt, just kind of near the Halls of Atonement, and you'll continue the chain from there. And then as a non-Venthyr, there was kind of two ways that I could go about this. I could head straight to the Absolution Crypt on my own, without a breadcrumb quest or anything, and I could pick up the quest line from there. I'll be showing you on the map now where that is. Or alternatively, if you need the breadcrumb quest, it might be a requirement. I'll show you where that is instead. That's going to be over by the main NPCs for this faction, which is in the kind of Halls of Atonement at 7352. It will find the NPC and they'll give you the quest called Our Forgotten Purpose, which will then send you over to the Absolution Crypt, and you'll do the same quest chain as a Venthyr player would. So you'll run through this quest chain and it'll have about 12 quests total to get through. It won't take you too long to do. You'll know you're on the final stage when you're on a quest called Hunting an Inquisitor, which is basically teaching you how or at least how part of the rep grind is going to work with killing the Inquisitors and collecting the Sinstone fragments. So once you're done with all of that, you're then basically on your own and you can begin the rep grind itself. Now, I hope you're prepared because this is going to be a real reputation grind. You're going to have to grind for hours and hours. Getting to Exalted will probably take you about 30 hours, maybe more. It's going to depend on if you're doing this in a group and how much competition you have in the area as well. So let's talk about how you'll actually gain reputation for this grind. So all the way up until Friendly, you'll be able to get 3 reputation from all of the mobs in the uninstance version of Halls of Atonement. You can run around, kill the mobs, they'll give you 3 reputation each. They'll also be dropping these Sinstone fragments, so you'll want to pick up and keep hold of. Don't use them just yet, you'll find out why in a little bit. If you go into the instanced version of Halls of Atonement, so the dungeon, then normal, heroic, and mythic, most of the mobs in there will give you about 10 rep each. Some of them giving you 5 and some of them giving you 0. But this is going to be a great way to start out to get yourself up to Friendly and above. So I definitely would recommend starting out grinding the dungeon if possible, as you're going to be getting the best kind of rep per hour. But outside of that, you could be grinding the mobs in the uninstance version if you're waiting for queues or whatever, and that's going to be giving you some reputation as well. Then around the uninstance version of Halls of Atonement, we'll find these fugitive souls kind of scattered around, and grabbing one of these and taking it to be atoned will give you 50 reputation per one, and then it'll spawn 4 mobs as well, which will give you 3 reputation per kill as well. So you're going to be getting 62 rep per soul that you hand in, but these guys are kind of like Onyx eggs. They're going to be hidden away around the area, and they're also going to be shared loot, so if someone grabs it before you, you're out of luck basically. Although they felt a little bit better than Onyx eggs, it felt like one always needed to be up, so they were kind of like a proactive spawn, they weren't like a spawn timer, but I couldn't confirm that because there wasn't a ton of people doing this reputation alongside me. So those are going to be a very good source of reputation. The final method of gaining reputation is going to be via the Inquisitor rares. There'll be 3 different types of Inquisitor rares scattered around the area: the Inquisitors, the High Inquisitors, and the Grand Inquisitors. The Grand being the strongest and also providing the most reputation. To be able to fight these rares, you'll need their related Sin Stones, and to get the Sin Stones, you'll either need to kill the mobs in the area and pray that you get the drop, because it's a very, very, very low drop chance that you'll get a full completed Sin Stone from these mobs. Or alternatively, you'll collect these Sin Stone fragments, which we were talking about earlier, and you'll hand them into the NPC that I'm showing you now, and he'll have 3 different options. He'll have a base option for 100 Sin Stone fragments, which will allow you to fight the base Inquisitors. He'll have a second option, which will cost 250 Sin Stone fragments, and that'll allow you to fight the High Inquisitors. And then he'll have a third option, which needs a special kind of currency, and to get this currency, it's either a low drop from the mobs in the area, or a low drop from the base Inquisitors, or a pretty much guaranteed drop from the High Inquisitors. Now, I figured it was better to just grind the base Inquisitors. In terms of reputation, you'll gain 50 rep from the Inquisitor, 100 rep from the High Inquisitor, and 200 rep from the Grand Inquisitor. The base Inquisitor being quite easy to solo, the High Inquisitors being kind of tricky to solo, especially in low gear, and the Grand Inquisitors being very difficult to solo, especially in low gear. It's going to be near impossible. And all 3 types of these Inquisitors can be killed over and over again. Their respawn timer is very short, like 30 seconds, so you can kill an Inquisitor, go hand in, get a new finished Sin Stone, and then go back to that Inquisitor and fight it again. And you'll be able to get rep every single time you fight it. You're not going to be locked out from these rares. What I would recommend doing, and what I was doing, was just going after the Inquisitors themselves. The High Inquisitors just didn't feel worth the time investment to kill them, and the higher Sin Stone fragment cost for the only, 50 rep more, basically. Okay, you're getting a higher chance of getting those currency needed for the Grand Inquisitors, but even then, it still comes out to be 50 reps short of just killing the base Inquisitors over and over again. So, base Inquisitors is definitely the way to go. Although, you want to be saving your Sin Stone fragments until later on into the grind. The reason for that is the reputation kind of changes a little bit as we progress further. So up until Friendly, everything I've just talked about will work. Once you hit Friendly though, the mobs in the uninstance version of Halls of Atonement will no longer give reputation. So those mobs giving you 3 rep, that's gone. And then once you hit Honored, the mobs inside the dungeon version of the Halls of Atonement will no longer give reputation either on normal, heroic, or mythic. None of those versions will give you rep towards the Avowed. So your only option at that point is going to be the souls, the fugitive souls, or the Inquisitors, all the way up to Revered onward. So now you're probably seeing why this rep grind is so rough, because you're only going to be able to get rep in very limited sources once you get kind of past Honored. it's going to slow down a crap ton, and it's going to feel like a very, very repetitive grind. Now, there is a couple of other things to mention with this rep grind as well. As you're killing mobs in the area, you will get these keys that will unlock crypts. You want to head over to those crypts and unlock them. So far, I've only found things like chests that will give you a bunch of sin stones, or mobs that will drop some sin stones, or mobs that will aid you in battle, or a portal that will take you to a chest that gives more sin stones. I feel like the portal should have had more going on with it, and it may do, but right now it didn't do a whole lot. In fact, it was probably one of the worst options I could have got. Give me a bunch of junk and only 20 sin stone fragments. The other thing is going to be this bell in the center of kind of the Halls of Atonement outside of the main building. There'll be a bell that will randomly come up, and it will cost these infused rubies to activate it, and when you activate it, you'll get a buff and also kind of a debuff. The 3 buffs that I've managed to find so far was 1, it gave me additional rep from the mobs in the area, and it actually gave me rep past honored with these mobs, but it only gives 1 extra rep per mob, so you're not going crazy with that, and it only lasts for 20 minutes. One of the other buffs was 1 that gave me more reputation per Inquisitor that I killed. I think it was 10 extra rep per Inquisitor I killed, so those are good periods to basically just spam kill Inquisitors when you have that buff active. And then the 3rd buff I got was 1 that gave me more reputation per Fugitive Soul I handed in. And this was probably my favorite one to get, because I think I was getting an additional 20 rep as well per Fugitive Soul I handed in. So that felt great to get. But this buff only lasts 20 minutes and does come with some drawbacks as well. For example, it increases the radius of mobs coming to attack you, or it'll spawn random enemies while you're in combat to come and get you. Basically, it has a buff and a negative to it. So, quite a lot to take in. As I said before, this reputation grind does have a lot more going on with it, and I would recommend doing this in a group. As far as I can tell, grouping up is going to be the best approach for this reputation. The reason for that is if you're in a group of 5, for example, you're going to kill 1 mob, and you're all going to be able to loot Sinstone fragments from that mob, which means instead of being solo and getting 100 Sinstone fragments, in a group you could be getting like 500, which means you can summon 5 times as many of the Inquisitors. It just seems a lot better. One thing I wasn't able to confirm though, is if you hand in a Fugitive Soul as a group player, will everyone in the group get reputation? I'm going to say no, but I might be wrong on that, and if that is the case, that makes grouping even stronger than it already seems to be. So grouping either way does seem like the way to go for this. I just don't really see many drawbacks first doing it solo. The other benefit to grouping as well is if one of you opens your crypt with the key, pretty much everyone in the group can take advantage of that as well. For example, if it's one of the chests that you can loot, everyone seems to be able to loot the chest. So just grouping in general seems like the better approach, and it's going to allow you to kill the rares quicker and take on the more challenging ones like the High Inquisitors or the Grand Inquisitors if you do get the completed Sin Stones for them. So as a quick recap, as it was quite a lot to take in, all the way up until Friendly, I would recommend killing the mobs in either the instance version of Halls of Atonement or the uninstance version, and sit on your Sinstone fragments, don't use them. And I would probably sit on any completed Sinstones you get as well, as it's not really worth using them just yet. Then keep going with the rep grind. Once you hit Friendly, I would then move over to doing exclusively the dungeon and getting your reputation from the mobs within there. Once you're hit Honored and you no longer get reputation from the mobs in the dungeon or the uninstance version, then it's purely going to be collecting the souls, the Fugitive Souls, and then doing the Inquisitors. Now souls though, the Fugitive Souls, those are worth grabbing at any point throughout the reputation grind because there's no real reason not to. They're going to give you a nice little chunk of reputation, and they're usable throughout the whole reputation grind, and it's not costing you anything to use that Fugitive Soul. It's not like a limited pool or resource of them. So definitely grab those whenever you see them. Keep grinding out, get to Honored, and that's where you want to start using your Sinstone fragments on the Inquisitors. Now we are quite close to Shadowlands launch at this point, like 2 to 3 weeks, but it wouldn't surprise me if this reputation grind does see some tweaks to it, the mobs lasting longer or them giving more reputation per kill or something along those lines. But the general kind of flow of this reputation grind, I'm confident to feel it will stay the same. So it might just be the values or the order that you do things might change a little bit. But overall, I think this is how the bulk of the reputation grind is going to go, which is why I'm happy enough to do a guide for it. So quite a lengthy one, but I wanted to make sure everything was fairly clear and stuff in terms of the reputation grind. Outside of that, look out for more videos coming soon. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.